First, I'll tell you a story which will probably cast light on my presentation. A mother is sitting with her 4-year-old daughter and telling her, tomorrow I'm going to take you to the kindergarten. Oh, Mom, I'm so excited. And what next? Well, after the kindergarten, you will go to school. Wonderful, I'm looking forward to it. And what after school? After school, you'll go to the college. Well, that's my dream. What about afterwards? Afterwards, you'll be working and working and working. Mom, when am I going to live? When I have a chance to communicate with my students, I teach exclusively online for the last 15 years, almost never seeing my students except in some really interesting situations. I look at them and see a similar question in their eyes. When will you let me go? Give me the grade and let me go. And I'm wondering, did they come to my class to learn from me or for a grade? One of my students told me the truth, which is a response to this question. He said, Dr. Serdyukov, I don't care what you teach and how you teach. I've been teaching school for 3 years already. He was about 25 years old. So I know everything, and there is nothing you can teach me. Just give me the grade and let me go to another class to graduate, to get my master's degree and get a raise on the job. And I was shocked, and then I started thinking a bit about it, and this is what I'm going to present today. I'm going to argue that it is not the technology in online or in general education at all levels that matters for quality learning outcomes. It is not only the teacher, but it is mostly the student and the societal culture which affects students' attitudes, their performance, their behaviors, and the way they learn, and also the way we teach. So, we live at the time of changes. In the United States, the current president, came to the top seat in the government with the motto, change. What is changing? Everything is changing. The world is changing in front of our eyes, and the paradigm of higher education is fundamentally changing. What is really helping? We see changing environment, changing formats, changing tools that come into the classroom every year, new, more sophisticated, and theoretically more helpful, which I'm not sure, but it's also the society is changing and the students are changing. There is a big difference between the students I teach today and those whom I taught 5 or 10 years ago. Generation X is not like Generation Z, as they call in America, and Generation Z is different from Generation X, and it is also different from us post-war. What do they call us who were born right after World War II? Baby boomers. And we learned differently, and the universities were absolutely different. And the changes are economic, social, technological, cultural, demographic, and they are all global. I don't believe that what I'm going to tell you refers only to the United States. No, I heard similar things from a presenter from Lebanon, in Germany, and other places. So it allows me to think that the issue that I'm going to address are universal. They belong to this society. So, of course, we are always concerned with many things. One of the big concerns in 1960s and 70s in the United States was the fight for social justice, for educational equality, and other things. And look what it led to. When in 1900 there were 238,000 college students in the United States, in 2014 we have 20,648,000. It's 87-time growth. Do we believe that the quality of higher education has improved for these people? I'm not sure, because I believe that the correlation is the reverse. The more we have students, and I fully support social justice and equality in all issues, but with the growing numbers, we are certainly experiencing the decrease or the decline in the quality. That's the law. Another aspect of changes in education is an emergence, well, not new event in the United States, but a rapid growth of private universities in the last 10 to 20 years. It is a manifestation of the business approach to education. If in 1965 public colleges enrolled only 4 million people, so in private universities there were 1.9 million students. Today, well, the data is for 2011, public colleges enrolled 15.1 million students and the private 5.9 million students. Out of them, for-profits, 766,000 in 2001, and in 2010, 2.4 million. As of today, about 3 million students take education from private institutions. What does it tell us? It tells us first that the market forces are at work. When we achieved educational equality and equality of opportunities and opened the door of the privileged universities to underprivileged population, we saw that the demand started growing. Private universities, especially for-profit universities in the United States, are trying to grab as many students as they can because enrollment is directly connected to the revenues. And when we ask if Phoenix University, Ashford University, I don't know if you're familiar with these big names in the United States and other universities that work exclusively for revenue, care at all about quality of education? So, we know that there are many great universities, outstanding professors and excellent students. The quality of education, higher education, I'm talking mostly about university level of education, is worrying us, educators. So instead of focusing my research interest on some particulars of online education, for instance, how best to assess students in an online class, how to engage them in communication and other things, this is the first time probably in my career I stepped aside and looked at the big picture of what online education is today and how it relates to the whole system of education in the United States. And I believe sometimes we have to do that because we are obsessed with what we see in front of us and we don't understand why this happens in front of our eyes in our classrooms and our universities. So I hope what I'm going to say will help you a little bit. There are three fundamental things in education: the what, the how, and to whom. So the what is the content, and we don't worry about content because content in our universities is excellent. We have wonderful textbooks, and we have plenty of online materials that are open to everybody. The next big thing is the how. The how is how we teach and students learn. To tell you the truth, what I've been observing all my life, and I've been teaching university 45 years, out of which 20 years in the United States, I see that professors are usually concerned about the quality of the what, the quality of the content. And they care less about the how they teach and how students learn, though there is much ado about it, but in reality, they don't know how to teach best and how students learn. And the third fundamental thing is to whom? Who are our students? What do they come to the university with? How are they prepared? And you know how they are prepared? Just recent statistics which I found in different sources, and it was published in Huffington Post, which is a very popular online newspaper, very popular, and it deserves its notoriety. According to their latest publication, about 75% of US high school graduates are not ready for college. So it means that only 1 out of 4 high school graduates can enroll in the university. And after the university, over 50% of employers are not happy about our university graduates because they believe they are not fit for the job, they're not prepared, they lack the necessary skills. So this tells the big picture that education in general, and education in the universities in particular, is not performing its vital societal function to prepare children for their study and for their life after the university. And there are many many factors that produce this kind of effect. And I'm going to talk about societal culture, the culture of consumerism in the United States in general and education in particular, convenience factor, and some other things. This is a recent publication in the Chronicle of Higher Education in the United States, just dates back to, 10 days ago, the slow death of the university. Terry Eagleton, who was professor in the United Kingdom, don't remember the university, wrote an eye-opening article. I advise you to find it and to read it. He says that traditional universities are dying out. So I invited him as a witness to what I'm trying to say today. Yes, it is. Unfortunately, the situation in higher education is changing. That's what he says. The distance between the university as a center of critical thought and the society has been diminished over the years and almost disappeared. So the institutions that produced Erasmus and John Milton, Einstein and Monty Python, which is a jazz band in the United Kingdom, capitulate to the hard-faced priorities of the global capitalism. Professors are transformed into managers of education, my brackets, and students converted into customers. So education has become a commodity to sell and to buy. I don't know if you agree with it, but the problem is that in my country, in the United States, we are observing consumerism of our students on a daily basis. What does it mean? Well, first of all, what is consumerism in education? I have to read that. The term consumerism denotes the belief that individuals obtain both gratification and social standing primarily through their consumption of tangible products. So, far as higher education is concerned, consumerism implies that students cease to see the university and higher education in general as a vehicle for self-improvement in the broadest sense. Instead, they come to see higher education only in terms of the obvious, tangible benefits it provides, especially in form of paper credentials for future employment. That's what my student told me several years ago. I need your grade, I need my degree to get a raise on the job. And that's his ultimate purpose of his professional life. How widespread is consumerism in education? Believe it or not, it's omnipresent and almost ubiquitous. Parents, together with their children, regard universities as marketplace, education meaning the degree or credential or any diploma, as a commodity, and professors are employees. So we are constantly observing that change of traditional university into a capitalist enterprise where we, the professors, the educators, the academics, perform service functions. Very interesting a quote from Spalding, British author of 2012. She wrote, "Some students regard this shopper's attitude as a grave mistake. A consumerist model of education which places the demands and desires of students at the center of university organization is most likely to lead to a decline of educational standards than to improve their quality." In addition to consumerism, we have another factor that is at play in higher education, especially in online education: convenience. We know that the general fascination with distance education is based primarily on this factor. Students take online program out convenience of place, of time, and pace. So, what does convenience lead to? I believe that convenience leads to deterioration of academic standards, to the changing learning styles, and drop in student responsibilities for what they learn. We had a very interesting presentation today where a professor from Notre Dame University used the term responsible learning, and we had a long discussion about it. I find that our students do not have responsible attitude towards the learning. So, convenience is related to the principle of the least effort by Zipf, which was published in 1949, which proves that human brain uses the strategy of economy to solve mental tasks. What does it mean? It means that we always try to invest as little effort in solving a problem as possible. And this is a universal law. So students, what do students do? They don't have to come to the classroom. They don't have to look into the professor's eyes, which makes us totally unfamiliar people who don't have to be respected. And they do whenever they want. An example, how does this factor affect education? Well, you know what foreign language study is. Very few people, the most persistent, the most responsible, can master a foreign language. Well, that's not very characteristic of the United States students. It's more prevalent in Europe, which is multinational and in a small continent. But in the United States, only about, 15% of people can be considered bilingual. Why? It is not because the language is difficult. It's because when you learn a language, you have to have a system. So the learning should be systemic, and students have to work every day. I am former English language and French teacher, and I was teaching teachers how to teach English to the students. So I know what it is. So it takes systematic approach and consistency in order to learn things right. In a convenience model, students don't do that. They come to the class whenever they want, and I'm not sure they learn what they need to do. One more factor, learner-centered education. This is a wonderful, democratic, noble principle which is the foundation of contemporary education. We believe the students are the first, they are the top, and we have to listen to the student. What does it lead to? It again brings us back to this service model that we professors serve on our students. And students tell us what they want. They tell us how to accommodate the content to their usually subpar level of professional preparation, they complain about their professors all the time if you do not satisfy them. And you know what? The universities play this tune. They measure the professor's performance not by the output, not by the student learning outcomes, by student satisfaction. Every course we have student evaluations in the end of the class, where students evaluate how we performed, how the course was organized and delivered, and many other things. And this is what matters for our superiors, whether you made students satisfied. And if you don't, then you are in trouble. So what does it lead to? That the professor uses the same consumerist approach, the same learner-centered approach, and leaves everything just to satisfy the students and to the university. And this brings us to the paradox of the teacher-student. While traditionally the instructor, the teacher, the professor was the key figure in the learning process, today the roles reversed. Now the student is the primary figure in the learning process. And it is the student who determines what should be taught, how taught, and even how evaluated. And the professor lowered to that service support function. Just the term facilitation. We do not teach in online classes. It's called we facilitate student learning. What does it tell you? That we, professors, do not matter. But with the loss of respect for the professor, the respect for knowledge and for learning disappears as well. And then we shouldn't be surprised to know that students come to the universities mostly to get the grade, to get credentials, and to get degrees. I'm about to finish. So, you, of course, want to ask me what to do. I was trying to make a case for the responsibility of society at all levels. Family culture, community culture, national culture, and generally human culture is to change its view of education. The value of education should be not pragmatic like we talk about 21st century skills, STEM, science, technology, English, and mathematics. It is just a part of the goal of education. We have to talk about bringing up and developing a whole person as a citizen, as a human being, as a person who is not only professionally prepared, but cultured. And what can we educators do? Well, if we want to change the world, we have to start with ourselves. You know that. So what we have to do is to demonstrate our professional, responsible teaching, despite what is going on in this society. It's difficult, but there is no other way out. And second thing we have to do, we have to bring attention to this problem of the negative societal influences on students, parents, and education in general. We have to talk about it. We have to raise our voice. We have to make public the society be concerned about it. Then we may hope that education will survive as we hope. Thank you very much.